الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. My speech will be entirely different because I will start to mention with God's mercy He sent us the best example for humanity, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And I can spend much of my time citing Muslims, non-Muslims. This is very popular amongst Muslims, especially citing non-Muslims, what they said about the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, his elevated character, his high moral values, his humbleness, his mercy, his love, etc. But this is very popular. This is done very much. I will try not to do this because many has already done it. I will focus on, or try to focus on his positive effects on humanity and the development of civilization. Because at the end of the day, it is what is really done, what is the real effects of his preaching and his message, and not only theoretical discussions. And this is actually inspired by my non-Muslim granddad, because I can use a lot of time explaining him theoretical beauties about Islam and theoretical beautiful concepts, but at the end of the day, he will just say show me what the Muslims have done or are doing now, don't bother me with theoretical discussions. And this is actually a very serious request that my granddad has, because if we ask ourselves now, what are we Muslims contributing to, pragmatically speaking? And we can very fast, before we get ashamed, turn our attentions toward what we have contributed to in the past. First of all, especially Islam, and also in a lesser degree other monotheistic faiths, motivated its followers to reflection, thinking, discover the creation of God, i.e. the universe. They had the fundamental mentality for scientific inquiry. They believed that God, the Most Wise, have rationally designed the universe and at the same time gave us men the ability to study it. We had an Islamic golden age. And this was a result of the Prophet ﷺ's teaching, the Quran and his Sunnah. And as mentioned earlier, this is in fact a miracle. Imagine going out in a desert, you have tribes killing each other for small things, and then you build a civilization which legacy has an effect until now. Philosophy, astronomy, mathematics, medical science, arts was developed in the Islamic world. And an important point was it was not developed so the Muslims could be arrogant over other nations, but to benefit the world with their ideas and interventions. The whole world, and especially Europe, should be thankful, not to us, but to our ancestors. Robert Briffault, in The Making of Humanity, asserts that the very existence of science, that is understood in the modern sense, is rooted in the scientific thought that emerged in Islamic civilization during this time. Without the dedication of the Islamic scholars from the 19th century to the 14th century, it is not clear that the Western Europe will become the world leaders in science and technology. In addition, it is unlikely that the United States would have inherited that leadership role, as mentioned, for example, by Keith Devlin in How Islam Kickstarted Science, an article in The Guardian. Europe was awakened by the voice of our scholars in the past and philosophers who taught these sciences in mosques of universities of Sevilla, Cordoba, Granada, and elsewhere. The first Westerners to come to our schools was very impressed and excited by all that they heard of these sciences in the atmosphere of freedom. Science cannot develop unless you have freedom, the like of which was unknown in the European countries. When our societies then afterwards started to become unjust and we lost freedom, internal fight and disputes, then the Europeans started to translate our works from Arabic to Latin, and the books of our scholars were studied in the Western university, like the books of Ibn Sina, Ibn Razi, and they actually made the basis for teaching of medicine in the universities of Europe until the 16th century. And the books of philosophy actually continued to be a main reference for much longer. The West only knew Greek philosophy because of our writers and translators. And Europe went heading to their golden age, and more importantly, we were heading towards our dark age. We have never had a dark age in our history until now, but we had our golden age. The scholar Gustave Le Bon says that Roger Bacon, Leonard Albesi, Arnaud Filofi, Ramon Paul St. Thomas, Albert Magnus and Spaniard Alfonso X all relied solely on books of the Arabs. He means the Muslims. Our question is really, how can we at the end of the day honor our religion by being the best people sent to mankind, not against mankind, both on an individual level but also at a community level. Edmund Burke said, people would not look forward to prosperity who never look backward to the ancestors. And Aldous Huxley also said that men do not learn very much from history is the most important lesson history has to teach. We have to learn from the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and his elevated companion, but we also have to learn from the mistake we have made in the past. Science was not taken from us, we left it for others. Our value was not taken from us, we left it. Is our people, nation, cultural countries and societies benefiting the world? That is actually some of the reasons that are keeping my granddad from accepting Islam, because he thinks theoretically it's very beautiful, but what are we doing practically? If we want to honor the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, then we should follow him in having a positive effect in everything that benefits humankind. Science, technology, justice, freedom, peace, prosperity, environment. And at least if we cannot increase these values, then we should not participate in decreasing them. Let us ask ourselves if we have the positive effect that we ought to have by our religion. Unfortunately, I think that not even one category are we increasing or participating in. We are forbidding philosophy, accepting injustice in the name of Islam, making the world more unsafe, polluting the environment, making more people disbelieve in God than to believe in God, forbidding the basic elements of science as critical reasoning and questioning. We are not benefiting from humanity, we are humiliated by receiving benefits from others. And most importantly, we have the best ground. We had a golden age once. And if we had this golden age once, why can we not do it again? Barakallahu fikum.